Hi, I'm Bryton Stahl, and I'm here to kick off the brand new show, BrytonQuest, where I'll be touring the country to show you what to see. I'll be going with my family in our Travel Wave 360, the trailable houseboat that my dad built about 10 years ago. Ever since, we've been traveling around the U.S., and we've decided that we should finally let somebody else see our adventures. So what are you waiting for? Let's go.
In this episode, we'll spend the day at the Smithsonian National Air and Space Museum. As you can tell, on day 7, July 4th, we finally reached Washington, D.C. While trying to hurry to the Independence Day parade, I may have accidentally kicked Dad's brand new bike off the dock we were staying at, and into the Potomac. Anyway, we walked to the parade, watched it, and then came back to the boat to see the fireworks show. Now, if you know anything about our family, you'd know that our first stop on day 8 had to be the National Air and Space Museum.
We're now at the National Air and Space Museum in Washington, D.C. This is like a lot of our favorites, and they have flight simulators, so I'm really excited. I'm so happy I can jump to the moon.
The National Air and Space Museum holds the largest collection of historic aircraft and spacecraft in the entire world. It began as the National Air Museum when it was formed on August 12, 1946. Later, on July 1, 1976, the current building was opened to the public. The architecture was done by Gyo Obata, who was hired to do the job by the Smithsonian Institution. Just about everything in the museum is an original or a backup, such as the Apollo lunar lander and Charles Lindbergh's Spirit of St. Louis. Another original in the museum is the 1903 Wright Flyer. With it is an exhibit of Orville and Wilbur's kites, bicycles, and biographies. The two brothers began as just bicycle repairmen, opening the Wright Cycle Company in 1892. In 1899, Wilbur wrote a letter to the Smithsonian Institute requesting information on aeronautics. In the same year, the two began their pursuit of flight. Their strategy was to use gliders to master the art of control over the aircraft. Through observation, Wilbur found that birds twisted their wings to roll their bodies right or left. The idea, called wing warping, became the key to their success. Finally, on December 17, 1903, after working with the 1900, 1901, and 1902 gliders, the Wright brothers achieved a successful flight of 12 seconds and 120 feet, making Orville Wright the first human being to fly a powered, heavier-than-air flyer ever. This is the very aircraft he used. These are the flight simulators. In them, you twist, turn, and dive for real. From the inside, it actually looks like you're in the plane. That's us flying.
This is what we just flew, except that what we were flying was a fighter version, and this is an attacker version. It's mainly for air-to-ground, this one, and we were using it for air-to-air combat.
What's your favorite part of the museum so far?
The flight simulator and all the cool airplanes.
In the last episode, I mentioned the ferry incident, and everyone was thinking, what's that? This was back at Mammoth Caves.
Well, if you can read, you'll realize that we made a big mistake in navigating and thought we were going to go over a bridge. Turns out it's a ferry, which is closed right now.
From the ferry, we're about a mile away from the camper.
Show them the map.
And we have to go how far?
Now we have to go
Probably about 30 or 35 miles. Alright. Our camper is about right there. This is where we are. And the little red line is the ferry. We have to go all the way back here.
Oops.
We gotta go across! Woo! That's so cool.
So there you go. We thought it was a bridge. It was a ferry. We thought the ferry was closed. It wasn't. So we went across the ferry, back to the campground, and went to sleep. To hear the rest of the story about Dad's bike, look out for the next Brighton Quest.